Hello again, it's Crew Call here on the Motor Racing Network, taking you into the garage area and talking to the folks to make these race cars go around the racetrack. Steve Post, lead pit reporter for Motor Racing Network, joined by 25-time and championship-winning crew chief Todd Gordon. Hello, Todd, how are you?
I'm great. Awesome weekend of Kansas racing.
Man, Kansas never disappoints on and off the racetrack. You know, I mean, but I got a little Kansas City barbecue, so I was good to go in that. And then the racing between the Arca Menard series, the trucks, the Xfinity, and the Cup series, it was all good.
So the ribs that you get to eat in Victory Lane, where do they come from?
Oh, I forget what that is. It was not. It was another barbecue company there that gives ribs in Victory Lane, and I think that's awesome. I forget the. Oh,
that's a newer piece because the two races I won there in 14 and 15, we didn't do that.
Oh man!
Yeah, so I was a little jealous.
They should make that retroactive. Yeah,
I'm a little jealous.
Yeah,
I'm a barbecue guy. So
well, no, you and one of the first times around the road, I ran into you and I sat cross an aisle and shot the breeze over at Arthur Brandt's at the local location there, right by the racetrack. But
you made it to the original.
Made it to the original one. Made it to the original Arthur Brandt's on Brooklyn Avenue, which is. That is the old school pictures of presidents on the wall. That is the place.
And I've got a voice in my ear says it's Smoking Brothers that provides the ribs for
Smoking Brothers. That's right.
So that's a place we're going to have to put on the destination list.
That's going to have to be the spring of next year. Smoking Brothers. We got to go support those that support the racetrack.
There's a bunch of little mom and pop places in that area too. They're just phenomenal. I always like the food when I get out there, but I love the racing out there. That progressive banking,
man, that works.
It's old enough. It's starting to get some fall off. We've got another one of them coming up.
Yeah. Yep.
Homestead Miami Speedway.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So I love the racing. I love the fact that we saw this place get up against the wall for a few races, and now you got guys that are trying to figure out how to race not against the wall to be better. I think it brings everything to it.
Yep. And the ironic twist that I enjoyed the most about it is the driver that is most notorious for being up against the wall passed with his left side tires down in the grass.
Yes.
Tyler Reddick picked up the win. Obviously it was a great green-white checker for Tyler Reddick, but the car that Billy Scott gave him for the previous 390-some miles was a good race car as well. That was a great effort across the board.
Yeah, it was a good race car. And kudos to 2311 Racing. They've won 3 of the last 4 races at Kansas, and I guess 3 of the 4 races in the next gen era. So, and then their owner won the other one. So they've got they got a pocket on what goes on at Kansas. Really noticed that last year. Kurt Busch, first race last year, really kind of separated their program from that place, and I think they build off of that as they come forward. But I wouldn't call him the best car. And I think Tyler Reddick said that in this whole piece is that he felt like they were good. They were pretty good. But Denny Hamlin was, I thought, the best car.
I thought so.
Kyle Larson at times looked really strong. And you love it when you see a caution with 6 to go, because I sat there, I was watching the TV broadcast. Letarte says, you got to take 4 tires here. I'm like, no, there's going to be guys that take 2. Yeah. I know that Paul Wolf will take 2. I turned to my wife on the couch. I said, when Steve made a comment, I said, 22's taking 2. I know that.
You know that. Yeah.
He's back at 16th. Really cool to see Dave Ellens.
Yeah.
From 6th place, take the call. Thought he'd own the front row, but then you got Travis Mack being a little bit bigger gambler.
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
I'm going to stay out from 21st or 22nd and ended up 18th. So the guys that did go on the alternate strategies, they all netted out neutral to positive. Yeah. So it's cool to see that.
I think so, and I've got a couple of notes. Dave Ellens and Paul Wolf. You're not shocked at Paul, but and Joey even said something to the fact to Chris Wilner in our post race to take a top 20 car and get a top 5 finish. That's performance right there. That's making the right moves.
And honestly, we look at it, and Tyler Reddick passes these 2 off of turn 4, coming to the white. If either one of them bobbles and lets the other one get gone, I think it's a heck of a race back to the checkered flag.
Yeah,
because the 2 of them, I mean, they both did what they're supposed to do. Yeah. Eric Jones and Joey Logano both. I knew Daniel was a sitting duck with Joey lined up behind him, and he was. But then they got side by side, and you don't really understand that. But when you watch these races, when they're side drafting on each other, they're just stacking air and making drag on the other car. You're not, the side draft is not about you going faster. It's about them going slower.
Right.
And the more that they did that for that whole lap, just side by side, pulling each other back, that gave Tyler Reddick this huge run at him. If either one of them could have gotten loose, could have broke free off of turn 2, it's a different race. It may still be Tyler Reddick's to win, but I think it's a 3 and 4 coming to the checker pass. Right. Not a 1 to go pass. 1 to go. It's a great outcome and ended up 3rd and 5th for those 2 tires. Yeah, absolutely. That's Joey had said that, I think, when Parker Kligerman interviewed him. He said if we'd only cleared him coming out of 2, it would have been a different story. And the same for Eric Jones. If Eric Jones had cleared Joey coming out of 2, I think it might have been. Who knows? You don't know. I actually think if Eric clears Joey, there's a better chance of Eric winning. Right. Joey's a tough pass. Joey is going to put on his Ryan Newman suit for that last lap and a half, admirably so. Which I love about him. That's exactly what I love about him. Or the other way. I think Joey would be a tougher pass for Tyler or Denny. Honestly, if Denny gets a good restart, Denny was he was too worried about what the 5 was doing. He felt like he was racing the 5 and he gave up the race because of it. Yep, I agree with that. I just, it's, you love it when you have these types of situations. Yeah, absolutely. So we had this scenario, and every once in a while this plays out, talking about Kyle Larson and Cliff Daniels, okay? And I am telling you, and I don't know what TV showed when they had their problems. I don't know, but there is something special. And Cliff made the call to leave him out on tires. Yep. And that buried Kyle back in the field. And again, Cliff on the radio, I'm sorry, this is on me. This is my bad call. Ironically, Chase Elliott stayed at the front of the field on the same strategy. It just didn't work out. But there is something about a Kyle Larson with a fast race car, a little bit behind where he feels he should be. And like I said, I don't know if TV showed any of it, but there were times where he'd go down into 1 and it was just breathtaking watching him make moves and slide jobs and muscling up to that wall. It was fun to watch. Yeah, TV didn't cover that as well as you got to see it. But it methodically worked the way forward. It's funny because different drivers respond differently to different situations. Yep. And I think I may be way off here, but I feel like Kyle Larson makes a ton of speed because his car is pretty free. Right. Like his long run speed, he can drive a loose race car. Yeah. But when you put him in a tire deficit and loose, I think the air starts working on him and puts him in a bad position. Yeah. I think somebody who's a little bit tighter can be at a tire deficit easier. Yeah. And I wonder if that's part of what happened. To your point, I mean, Chase held on up front pretty respectably. Yeah. On the same tire strategy. He just didn't get Kyle Larson made the comment that Blaney got up beside him and got him loose, and that was it. And I think a lot of that was the dirty air because Cliff even might have said in his apology, when you got back in dirty air, you were along for the ride then. How a car needs to handle to run up front and how it needs to handle to run in dirty air, different deals. So, but a good recovery for those guys they were back to almost 20th. Yeah, they were like 17th, 16th, 18th, somewhere in there. Yeah, they'd fallen quite a ways back. That run from 18th to, I think he got to 6th by the time that caution came out, maybe 5th. That was just like, you're just sitting there. And it's fun being down on pit road. And you've been down there just watching the guys are just like, man, that driver's got our back. And Cliff knows that driver's got my back. Yep. And while it wasn't a win, it was a playoff championship caliber recovery from a mistake that they made. Denny Hamlin, Chris Gabehart, a good recovery after Darlington, but boy, this is 2 now where they've had what looked like the race-winning car that got away from them. Yeah, and the first one, obviously, Darlington won both stages. They were the dominant car there. Had the loose wheel, whatever it was. Yep, Denny didn't like something that was in the race car, and I trust my driver. Yep, 50 wins later, I trust my driver. So, situation there. Here, I think, really strong run, really put the race together, came down. They had separation. I think Chris made the right call, put 4 tires on him. He's a first car out on 4 tires. I think he's in a good spot. Denny's focus got wrong. in my opinion. And he said it afterwards. So I'm just backing up. But he was too worried about racing the 5 car, thinking he was going to beat all the 2 tires. And he was backing up to the 5 as the leaders were leaving.
And the 45 was leaving too.
And the 45 was on Joey's bumper. He went with him.
He was going. Yeah.
So I mean, the 45 beat him because he took advantage of the restart.
Yeah.
Because really, if you look at the separation between where they were entering turn 1,
no doubt. Yeah.
Denny made a good drive to get back to where he got to. Just needed to be up on top of that restart.
Yeah, that's the good side. Those are the guys that had good days.
They're in great positions.
Yes,
though.
they are.
They're what, 49 points above the cut line?
49 points. Denny Hamlin, 49 points to the good.
You just don't shoot yourself in the foot on lap 1.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there we go. Early race problems. Martin Truex Jr., lap number 3, a tire puncture puts him in the fence and gets him gone.
Was he on your end of pit road?
Yes, he was.
Did you see the puncture?
I did not, because they took the car. That was where they took the car to the garage.
Oh, okay.
Remember, they had that whole, James wanted them to bring it down to pit road, and then they got into that whole brouhaha. There was some yelling at officials down there.
Which Elton explained Tuesday morning on DMD. That if you got to get pushed for flat. The way I took it, if you got to get pushed for flat tires, they'll push you to your box. But if you got to, or they'll hook you and carry you because of flat tires. But with suspension damage, you're going to go to the garage.
Right. So anyhow, to me, the Martin Truex Jr. story is not about what happened at Kansas, because you're going to, and from all accounts I've heard, there was a puncture in the center of the tire, which would lead you to believe he ran over something. And we're only 3 laps into a run. Yeah. Okay, that's my hunch here.
Yep.
My challenge is lap 153 at Darlington, when they had a loose wheel and they had to come in, and they never really recovered there.
Right.
So you take a mistake at Darlington, 18th place finish, and you compound it by a racing incident, and they're 7 points below the cutoff line. Going
to Martin's, what I would argue is Martin's worst racetrack. If you look at his performance at Bristol, it's not been. He won a dirt race there in the truck, and I remember races, and I had to look at the data, but I remember races that when the top wasn't in, when they had all the PJ1 on the bottom, that he was just lights out good down there in the bottom. So he's had speed there, but it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. I mean, this could be the first time that a regular season champion doesn't make it out of the round of 16. And when you look at it, let's get into that a little bit.
Absolutely.
But, you look at it, we've got 3 fairly recent champions. I mean, Martin Truex is 7 points behind Kevin Harvick.
Right.
Who's 5 points behind Joey Logano.
Yeah.
Like you look at the group, and I feel like I'll give you mine. I'll own that I'm wrong on Monday, on next week if I am. But Michael McDowell's not going to make it through.
Right.
Ricky Stenhouse, I don't believe is making it through.
I don't think so either.
I just don't. Going to Bristol, and I think Ricky's had good runs at Bristol, but Bristol's a place that your pit crew's going to have to perform, and I just don't feel like those groups have elite pit crews.
Right.
I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
And I don't see them making up. I don't think Bubba makes it out of this round. The caveat I'll give to that, but in a second, I feel like the group from Ross Chastain to Martin Truex Jr.
Right.
So if you look at it, it's Ross, it's Chris Buescher, Christopher Bell, Joey Logano, Kevin Harvick, and Martin Truex Jr.
Yep.
Somebody in that is going to fumble.
Right. And there's only 25 points from Martin to Ross. There's only 25 points. So
yeah. So it's really 18.
18 to the good, 7 back to Martin. Yeah,
but
exactly.
18 off of the
bubble. Yes, exactly.
Off of Martin.
Oh,
so
that's right.
It's 18.
18 points. Yeah.
So it's 18 points there. Somebody in there is going to have a fumble. And I use a football analogy.
Yeah,
somebody's going to and whoever does, I think falls to that 4th exit position.
That spot, yeah.
It depends on what happens. They may fumble after. If you have like a race like Denny had at Darlington, you go win stage 1 and stage 2. You can fumble and still make it through.
Fumble on a points perspective,
right? So we'll see where that goes. But I feel like Bubba's opportunity to make it through this round, he has to see 2 of those cars have issues.
You have 2 have issues, and they have to be about flawless too. They have to be, they have to be right on point.
They got to put a great race together and then see that. So
2 of them
to me, but who out of that group do you look at and say, oh, they're not going to make it?
Yeah, that's the problem, because Ross
this field is stacked.
This is unreal. Chris Buescher won this race last year. Ross Chastain is certainly
he was third last year.
Yeah, and Ross has found some. That team hobbled into the playoffs, and they seem to be getting. They're jogging now.
Yeah.
Yes. You know, I mean,
they're figuring out how to get the best finishes out of what they've got.
They're not sprinting yet, but they are scratching and clawing and have got themselves at a jog now and pointed in the right direction. So we'll see.
And really, I think it comes from the last four, and it's hard to say because, I mean, I had Christopher Bell preseason as my champion.
Yeah.
They haven't put things together since they made the pit crew swap.
My story there, my theory there, they make the pit crew swap, and we've had pit mistakes both races, and we talk about teams recovering from pit mistakes. They haven't been able to recover fully from them. They won the pole for both races. So when I talk about recover, you better get up to the top 3 or top 5, and they haven't been able to do it in both races.
Yeah.
That recovery just doesn't seem to be there.
It's just that's a question mark to me. I think knowing Paul Wolf, knowing Joey Logano, they're grinders. Those two are grinders. And we saw it last weekend, right? Took a 16th place car and finished 5th with it.
Yep, absolutely.
I mean, whatever happens, Joey's pretty good at Bristol.
Yep.
Kevin's extremely good at Bristol. Martin's in a tough position. Adam Stevens been to victory lane a bunch of times there.
Yep, you're right about that.
With Kyle,
yeah.
I don't know where you put it here. It's going to be fun to watch.
Gosh, it's going to be crazy.
And it'll be all the way through the end of the race.
Yeah.
You get to lap 400, you're still not going to know. Unless somebody has like a catastrophic failure problem. Yeah. And kind of limits themselves.
Yeah. We'll see what happens with it. Going to be good, that's for sure. Let's see. I think that kind of buttons up what I was looking at with Kansas. It kind of sets us up as far as the playoff goes. Let's do this. Let's step away, and then we'll just roll up our sleeves and talk a little bit more about Bristol and beyond the points, what everyone needs to do up there, and go from there. So stay with us. More Crew Call in just a moment. Welcome back. It is Crew Call here on the Motor Racing Network. Todd Gordon and Steve Post hanging out, talking a little racing action here, headed off to Bristol. As Dale Jr. said so infamously, it's Bristol, baby. And the night race at Bristol, it is going to be fun. That is for sure. Looking back a year ago, Chris Buescher won this race, and I don't think it was a dramatic that's what started it, but that's where we started to see the fruits of the RFK labor that we continue to see now.
Yeah. And how did he win the race? The guy that was leading the race had a tire failure, right?
Yeah, who was that? Brad Keselowski.
Might have been his team owner.
Yeah, Brad infamously, that's the maddest I've ever been in victory lane in my life.
Yeah, so and Goodyear did a tire test. They made a construction change coming back to this place just because trying to address it. This is a unique creature, Bristol. Yeah. How much grip there is there? It's the highest G load, one of the highest G loaded racetracks we'll go to. When I say G loaded, how much lateral load you can actually make because the car's squished down with all the banking, the grip, and the racetrack. It's just it tears on those tires a lot. Here in Dover, two places that Goodyear really has concern about at times. But and there's so much 500 laps. Tire never gets a break.
No,
it doesn't. It's 4 seconds to load it up. 4 seconds down the straightaway. 4 seconds to load it up. It's just 16 seconds later, you're starting all over again. Doing another lap around there, yeah. So it is going to be interesting to see of the playoff drivers. Larson was 5th last year. Byron has been pretty good there, 3rd place finish. We'll see. And I would expect, and you talked about it, from the bubble perspective, probably from 8th on back is where we're looking at here. When you look at, I mean, Larson and Reddick are locked in, but Byron's just had good speed across the board. Denny, and he's got 41 points. Denny's got 49 points. They're probably all going to be in good shape. It's just a matter of how they lock into that race on Saturday night. Yes. Yeah. I mean, I want to be Kyle Larson or Tyler Reddick. Yes. That's the guys that I want to be. I want to be guaranteed through. But you look at it, and Denny with 49-point cushion. I think Denny's safe. I don't think anything can happen to Denny. It's putting a 49-point day together for Martin Truex Jr. is a huge accomplishment. And the other thing is that it's not just that, but it's the fact that Kevin Harvick would have to put a 42-point day together. That Joey Logano would have to put a 40-point day. It's just
number of people. Yeah,
you would need everything, like the stars to line up perfectly for Denny to back his way out of it.
At Bristol.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think Denny's good. I think Williams feels pretty good. The comfort level continues to degrade, right?
Yeah.
Brad, I think, is in fine. I mean, Brad can go, as we saw last year, he could be a winner here.
Yeah.
But you just want to execute your way through it. You get back to Blaney and Kyle Busch, you're in that no man's zone, right?
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm scared, but I know I should be more aware than I am. Right. And then I feel like once you get under 20 points, and that's why I put the line at Ross Chastain.
Yeah.
Because I think that depends on what happens with stages. Martin Truex goes out, qualifies top 3, and wins 2 stages.
He's back. Yeah, he's got his
way
20
on the
points.
positive side.
He's got his 20 points, depending on what everyone else does. He's got 20 points there in the tally. So
it's going to be a moving target all night long, and one that I remember Ryan Blaney dominating this place with Jeremy Bullins, and lap traffic wrecked in front of him, and he got caught in it.
That's right.
You don't. Anything can happen at Bristol. That's why they put it as a cutoff race.
Yeah.
It's spectacular.
It is. It's going to be fascinating. It really, truly is, to see what happens with it. And the other thing is, and you talk about it, we've got a new tire there, only going there once a year. It's been 12 months since we've been there.
Yes.
I mean,
and we've only got one data point on this car.
Right. Absolutely. That's true. Yeah. Because with a new car. Yeah. With a different tire.
It's
one data point with this car with a different tire.
Figure it out in 20 minutes.
No problem at all. It is going to be fun. It really, truly is going to be fun to see what happens. And that will eliminate 4 drivers from it. We'll get down to the round of 12. Look at Xfinity Series. We have a field set there. They're round of 12. Bristol, Texas, and the Roval. John Hunter Nemechek. Boy, I'm telling you what, the young man had a good week last week.
Yes, he did.
Getting named the driver up at Legacy Motor Club, and then a dominating performance at Kansas. Carrying momentum. If carrying momentum matters, and everybody says momentum matters, John Hunter Nemechek is carrying momentum and 43 points into this playoff battle. So,
I mean, they're in a great spot. And Ben Bayshore. Came off of the 18 car last year, back to the Xfinity Series, paired up with John Hunter. Ben knows how to grind out the playoffs.
Yeah,
he does, and in a great position here. It'd be really interesting to see what the two of them together can do. I do think. I mean, I feel like it's his to lose.
Yeah,
they're in such a good position. Last year we had Ty Gibson at 54 car. And we had the junior motorsports cars that had a lot of momentum coming to this point. Just haven't seen the junior motorsports cars have that, be able to match the JGR pace. Yeah. And we'll see where it plays out. It all changes and all starts this weekend. The piece I want to bring on the Xfinity side, I'll let you finish that one, then we'll go someplace else.
No, go ahead. No, don't. What's the other thing on the Xfinity side?
How about Parker Klingerman?
Yeah.
And Scott Borchetta?
Man.
And I got a chance Monday night to talk to Scott. On late shift on Sirius, and what a great story! It
is a phenomenal story.
He's a racer.
Yeah,
I mean, he's got so many things he does: big machine records, big machine vodka. He's into big machine racing.
Yeah,
and they're up on the RCR campus, but he wanted to be involved and own. And then a tragic wreck. I mean, I won't say tragic, but a horrible wreck.
Yeah,
I got to talk to him about it.
It was bad. Road Atlanta.
He said it was touch and go whether he'd make it or not the first 24 hours.
Nope.
Complete brake failure into turn 1. I had a driver that did that as well. We go back to 2011. Brad was up there testing at Road Atlanta, and that's when, his feet were, they airlifted him.
Yeah, that's right.
I lost him for a couple races because they weren't going to, nothing broke, but his ankles were huge, where they've just been beat around. But I remember that phone call. That place is tough. And to have that situation, Scott was back on the box this week.
Yeah, that was cool.
Really cool to see him. I mean, he's got a passion for it.
Right.
And to talk to him, that's a feel-good story. Let's see where they can go.
They made this announcement at Martinsville last fall, and I was just sitting in the media center doing my stuff when they came in and made the announcement. And there was just such a, if you give me a chance, I'll give you a chance. And if I give you a chance, you give me a chance. And here they are. They're running for a championship, and I do love it. I think it's a great, great story. So it's going to be fun. Xfinity Series is going to be fun.
It's going to be a great race Friday night. Yeah. I did just kicking off the piece. I actually had Parker drive Bristol for me to a top 10 finish
Did you
back
really?
in 2011.
Yep.
Discount tire car.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I was back when we were in that kind of in between. I think Parker actually drove one of those races for us and got to work with him there.
He's had some good runs there with the truck because he's ran that Food City. Yeah.
Food City.
Yeah.
It's a Food City race. So
yes,
it's
the Food City. Yes,
team.
exactly.
They're out of that area.
They're out of that. Charlie Henderson's team, I think it is. Yeah. And he's given that truck some good rides.
I look for a good weekend out of Parker up here. It will be fun to watch.
Yep. And the tough trucks of NASCAR, we have said goodbye to the Matts. Matt Crafton and Matt DiBenedetto are no longer with us in the playoff battles. We're down to the round of 8. There's 3 more races. This round fascinates me. Bristol, Talladega, Homestead. Boy, I am telling you what, I don't know how you handicap this thing. Because you got Bristol, Talladega, Homestead. You don't really need to add any more.
Yeah.
You got one intermediate racetrack that is arguably the best intermediate racetrack on the planet.
Yep.
You've got Talladega and you've got Bristol.
And yes, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Kicking off with Bristol, and you got the question mark at Talladega, and then we get to go to, I would say, my favorite racetrack.
Yeah, Homestead.
I hate that we don't have championship weekend at Homestead anymore. I know Phoenix has done a great job with it, and it's a great venue for it, but I love Homestead. The only mile and a half that has a straight front straightaway.
Right.
And I think that it plays with it because you can pass down that front straightaway. I love that place.
Yeah. The other thing I noticed in just looking at the numbers here on the Truck Series, okay, Xfinity Series, John Hunter Nemechek, a 43-point advantage. Martin Truex Jr. came in with 36 bonus points in the Cup Series. Corey Heim goes into this with 8-point advantage as the leader. An 8-point advantage as the leader. This, to me, this Truck Series playoff, and then you throw in those racetracks. It's going to be fun to see what Corey, and he's got Scott Zipadelli calling the shots there. Yep. Boy, I'm telling you what, I'm going truck racing. Scott is probably not even on my hand. It's probably down to 2 or 3 fingers of guys I'm going to work with to get there. He gets it.
Great reputation in the Truck Series. He's done a phenomenal job through that. He understands it. He's worked with a lot of young guys and carried them through this. It'd be great to see how this program, how this program handles it and how Corey does. Scott will lead him. But as you said, there's no separation. There's no separation in this field. So it'd be fun to watch how this all plays out.
Going to be awesome. That is for sure. And it starts playing out this weekend. Motor Racing Network will be in Bristol on Thursday night. We'll kick off our coverage with the Bush's Beans 150 ARCA Menard Series race. And then at 8:30 Eastern Time, the UNOH 200 presented by Ohio Logistics will have that first round of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. At that point, we'll turn it over to our friends at Performance Racing Network. They'll have Friday night's Xfinity Series race and the night race at Bristol on Saturday night. So make sure you dial up your local radio station. Tune in MRN, PRN, wherever you're at across the board this weekend. Give a chance here to remind you that we have weekly shows here as well on our digital platform and on our YouTube page. NASCAR Live, the Tuesday night tradition, NASCAR Live wide open because Mike Bagley can't get it into 1 hour on Tuesday night, so he adds more for a Thursday drop. NASCAR Coast to Coast talking about the roots of racing. Wing Nation talking about sprint cars and, of course, NASCAR Crew Call. And if you like what we're doing here on MRN, like and share, and review. That's what we're looking for. So off to Bristol, Todd.
Yeah.
See what we got.
Yeah, it's going to be a phenomenal week of racing with Thursday, Friday, Saturday night racing. One of the few that we get, but great tune-in.
Great tune-in, that's for sure. Good stuff. He's Todd Gordon. I'm Steve Post, and we thank you for joining us this time on MRN's Crew Call.